Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Quick, Calm, Easy Meditations to Short-Circuit Stress Using Mindfulness and Neuroscience by Jennifer R. Wolkin, Ph.D. Narrated by Suzie Althens. Publisher's Note: in this audio edition, you may hear references to visual elements present in the print and ebook formats of the book. This publication is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is sold with the understanding that the publisher is not engaged in rendering psychological, financial, legal, or other professional services. If expert assistance or counseling is needed, the services of a competent professional should be sought. Forward. I remember nothing from any of the nights I won my Olympic gold medals. I only remember smoothing my Team USA uniform a bit before walking toward the spot where I would begin my run on the long jump runway. I remember taking a deep centering breath before rocking forward to take my first step. My memories of each of those events have been crafted by YouTube videos, social media, and retellings from friends and family, fans and followers that witnessed them. This isn't unusual. There's a place that elite athletes have the ability to go to, or I should say, can withdraw to, that puts them fully in the present moment. With nothing to look back on, or look forward to, it's a space where all there is to be and do. It's often referred to as the zone, and I navigate this space with ease. Or at least I had. But in the pursuit of my 9 medals, so far, life happened to me, as it happens to us all, and I began to live in a new space, one where I ruminated on the past and fretted over the future. I became exhausted by the constant suffering that living everywhere but in the here and now created in me. So I did the only thing I could think of to do. I ran away to Italy. I met Dr. Jen in 2019 in an aging Tuscan villa that sat alone in lavender-laced Italian countryside. We were gathered there for a yoga retreat led by a mutual friend. We did not know each other, but because we were seated close to each other, we were paired together on the first activity asked of our group. We were meant to turn to our partner and look into their eyes, without speaking, until the timer went off. Turning to face each other, we clasped hands and stared into each other's eyes. I took in her face, open and trusting, warm and calm. Maybe it was 5 minutes. Maybe it was forever. But I remember wondering if she could see me. An interesting thought to have while staring at someone staring back at you. I saw in her beautiful eyes not just the myriad of colors it takes to make her particular shade of brown, but a willingness, no, an invitation to be here, now. An open invitation to sit with her, to breathe deeply with her, to be here, together, now. I nodded slightly, as if to say, I accept, and as if receiving that telepathic message, she squeezed my hand a little more tightly, a small smile flitting across her lips while her face became blurred by my eyes filling with tears. It was perhaps the first time since my marriage and my inevitable divorce that I had been truly present outside of a track and field competition, and yet the sensation was familiar. It was a zone of sorts. Only this time, it was not a track coach that guided me to the finish line, but this woman, my new soul sister, Jen, who was literally holding my hands and would be absolutely integral in my journey to find my way home. As the retreat went on, I continued to seek Jen out, to settle in on the couch cushion nearby to chat for 5 minutes, or unroll my yoga mat across the floor near hers. Day after day, she reminded me of the importance of being gentle with myself, to give myself credit for showing up, to pat myself on the back for the accomplishments of the past, but to not stay there. Rather, to simply allow the ghosts of gold medals past to propel me forward to bigger and better goals I may have for myself. I know I am not alone when I say I can be my harshest critic, both on and off the track. We all need a person like Jen, reminding us of the importance of being gentle with ourselves and to simply begin again when we mess it up, rather than assigning blame and judgment and guilt. If comparison is an act of violence to oneself, then the constant comparing of who I am currently to the person I was over 4 years ago at the last Olympic Games is the ultimate act of self-harm. Gentle, 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 she reminds me. Breathe beauty, she says, either through text or on our coveted video calls. Jen is the coach we need, the type that coaxes greatness from a person with compassion, with open arms and open doors, and a knowledge backed by so many scientific facts that even when I don't believe in myself and my abilities, I believe in her and her brain, and it's enough to pull me through. As I write this, step by step, we continue to walk together through one of the most unpredictable years in all our lives. Call after call, even while navigating her own pains and frustrations, Jen holds space for me, returning my awareness to the present, to the breath, to all the things that are true, and to my ability to drop in and drag greatness from myself in huge moments. However, one of the most important things I have picked up from Jen, whether directly through her work or indirectly through our friendship, is that the ability to drop into the zone no longer needs to be reserved for huge moments like the Olympic finals. This calm can be cultivated in the day-to-day, in the mundane. I can be present and mindful upon waking, while I'm driving or cleaning, or training and competing. And my God, the benefits! To possess the ability to hold the power of, quite literally, changing our minds is a gift we no longer need to squander. I practice daily to prepare my physical body. I've learned we all have the ability to access this mindfulness practice every day as well. Yet, unlike my athletic training, it doesn't require hours upon hours each day, but just 5 minutes. And just as I wasn't born an elite athlete and didn't become an Olympic champion overnight, it's the result of committed effort over a really long period of time. Mindfulness is a practice that requires sustained effort, moments at a time, day after day. And just as I did when I stood atop the podium, singing the national anthem with a gold medal draped about my neck, you will get to a mountaintop or podium moment in your life and reflect on how far you've come and how it was not a miracle, but the result of you embracing your powerful daily practice, day after day after day. All any of us has to do is start. And when we falter, start again. And if you're feeling like you don't know where to start, let me remind you of this most important thing. You are here, and Dr. Jen is here, guiding you to and through how to make your already powerful mind your biggest ally. Tiana Bartoletta. Part 1. Pre-Practice. Chapter 1. Just give yourself 5. Have you ever noticed your mind racing with excessive worry and thoughts of uncertainty? Do you have a deep overwhelm that your to-do list will never get done? Are life's external stressors, work deadlines, family responsibilities, financial issues, health concerns, and/or relationship commitments impacting your health and well-being? Are your internal negative thoughts creating anxiety by whispering that joy, love, and contentment are not yours to own? Maybe you have felt the burden of self-doubt, that you're not enough, that you don't matter, and that accomplishing a goal is out of reach. Does any of this ring true? It definitely did for me when I was struggling with what was eventually diagnosed as endometriosis. Years of stress and pain left me feeling invalidated and helpless. Negative self-talk seeped in, making it difficult to concentrate on my personal life, my career, and my aspirations. I found myself disconnecting from my relationships and avoiding even simple daily tasks. I was anxious and overwhelmed. That's when, in searching for something to help my mind and body settle, I discovered mindfulness. In turning to this practice, I could not have predicted the positive long-term impact it would have on my overall well-being. Mindfulness practice, as you will see, is more than just a breathing exercise, but the breath was my starting point. As I cultivated my ability to focus on my breath, I became more present to the moment as it was actually unfolding. Just 5 minutes a day of mindfulness practice allowed me to purposefully take a pause and tune into the present moment with less judgment and more self-compassion. Stress can wreak havoc on our overall well-being and ability to function, and I wrote this book as a tool to help you short-circuit stress. So, are you ready to join me? All I will ask is for you to set aside 5 minutes of your time each day. Carving out bits of time, as I do, each and every day, cues the brain to authentic and lasting healing. I am looking forward to embarking on this journey together. Finding 5 minutes. I understand that time is one of the most valuable resources you have. In a world where doing more and doing more faster is celebrated, even dedicating 5 minutes for mindfulness practice might sound unrealistic, or perhaps a bit daunting. Looking at your jam-packed daily schedule of personal and professional commitments can make the thought of taking time out of your day seem impossible. The thing about 5 minutes is, it's more than 0 minutes. Mindfulness, even in small doses, adds up, especially when it's practiced every day. But does 5 minutes a day really help? Absolutely. Our brain thrives on repetition. It's similar to lifting weights. Hoisting 5 to 10-pound weights for 5 minutes a day, every day, can change your physique and make you stronger. The changes won't happen overnight, but in time, the results will become noticeable because our muscles, like our brain, respond to consistency. In fact, practicing 5 minutes a day has a bigger payoff for your well-being over the long term than practice for 1 hour once a week. Of course, it's hard to measure the brain's progress because you can't actually see your neural circuitry forming new healthy connections in the mirror, in the same way you can see your muscles strengthening. Yet over time, you will certainly feel it. Muscles and mirrors aside, my commitment to you is to guide you through 5-minute mindfulness practices throughout this book. Sometimes we'll build these 5 minutes into activities you are already engaging in anyway, like walking to work or drinking coffee. Other times, we'll take 5 minutes to intentionally slow down to notice the breath or scan the body. Either way, we will be doing this together. I will not stop advocating for you to try on being gentler with yourself, to allow yourself time to reset and return to the busyness of everyday life after a restorative pause in the form of 5 minutes. How to use this book. This book is designed to be engaged with over and over again and will be most effective when used as a guide that sits on a night table or coffee table rather than on your bookshelf. This guide will lay out for you what mindfulness means, what mindfulness practice entails, and how mindfulness will help to rewire your brain for less stress and anxiety, increased calm and less reactivity, decreased chronic pain, and an overall healthier you. I will help you set up a practice and navigate some of the challenges to practicing, and I will offer up bite-sized practices of all kinds. The next 2 chapters will explain more about what mindfulness is and introduce the how-tos of practicing. The 30 mindfulness exercises that follow are organized into formal, informal, and mindful living practices. In the how-tos of practicing in Chapter 3, I will talk about how to get the most out of doing these different types of practice. You'll also find some helpful materials available for download at the website for this book, newharbinger.com/46080. Who is this book for? This book is for you. It is for anyone who wants to nurture greater well-being. Our human capacity for well-being is intrinsic, and this book helps you leverage it. Likely, you are drawn to this book because you may want to add to a well-being toolkit or start building one to navigate intrinsic life stressors, the ups, the downs, the all-arounds. Learn to de-stress in the face of a specific stressor, such as work or school deadlines. Learn ways to cope with chronic pain. Reduce chronic stress. Reduce anxiety that might be interfering with multiple areas of functioning. Increase your ability to focus on specific tasks. Increase your ability to stay present in relationships and improve them. Increase self-compassion. Cultivate a self-care practice. Live life less on autopilot and with more purpose, on purpose. Any or all of these reasons may be motivating you to seek greater well-being through mindfulness. Self-care, you dare. Many of us tell or have heard the false story that self-care is selfish. We may have the unhelpful perception that either one cares for oneself or one is selfish. But through continued practice, you, like me, will see the amazing pay-it-forward effect of mindfulness, specifically, and self-care more generally. When we actually do the work of taking the time to tune ourselves as if we were a precious instrument with a robust orchestra, everyone benefits. I certainly wouldn't want to play a cello that was out of tune. Believe me, I've tried. The moral of this metaphor is that self-care actually benefits everyone around us. When we take the time to tune ourselves, to listen to our bodies and minds when they need to rest, refuel, and regroup, we have more capacity to be there for others in our lives. We have room and reserves to show up for those who need us. I challenge you to reframe your own story of what self-care is or isn't, to see for yourself how taking care of yourself creates dividends for those you show up for. Engaging in mindfulness practice isn't about fixing anything, because we are not broken. It's about learning to navigate the ebbs and flows of life, to learn to acknowledge barriers that try to keep us from feeling well, and to notice the open and expansive fields of possibility for experiencing joy. Important note: if you are unable to get out of bed in the morning, or if your anxiety is so overwhelming that you are not able to leave your house, please reach out to a mental health professional. The same goes if you are suffering from the impact of a traumatic experience. Reaching out to a psychologist while engaging in mindfulness meditation means that you are allowing yourself the room to take care of yourself on a deeper level, to grow healthy tissue around some old scars, to shed the shame we sometimes associate with feeling emotional or physical pain. I'm glad we are going to be together for 5 minutes each day. This is a big step, and I'm here with you. Next, I'm going to delve into what mindfulness truly means so that you have a solid sense of what you are practicing and why. I find that this information often helps my brain prepare to show up. Chapter 2. What is mindfulness, and why practice? Mindfulness meditation is an actual practice, an action, used to cultivate more mindfulness, a state of being. So, in the purest sense of the term, mindfulness meditation is situated under the bigger umbrella of meditation, which can be any technique or practice used to gain mental clarity. For the purposes of this book, I refer to mindfulness meditation as mindfulness practice. From a historical perspective, mindfulness practice is thousands of years old. While many religions and cultures have taught the tenets of mindfulness, Buddhism holds mindfulness at its core probably more than any other tradition. According to ancient Buddhist philosophy, mindfulness was practiced with the goal of the cessation of personal suffering. In more recent times, mindfulness has been applied as a secular adjunctive technique to Western psychological interventions. This began in the 1970s with Jon Kabat-Zinn's use of mindfulness to help people with chronic pain relate to their suffering in an alternative way. Since then, mindfulness has been adapted to treat a variety of psychological conditions and assist in overall stress reduction. Kabat-Zinn has defined mindfulness as a state of greater awareness cultivated by paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. Paying attention on purpose. When we don't hone our focus on purpose, we tend to operate on autopilot. Do you know that feeling of being disconnected from yourself when you're on autopilot? This is when we get lost in doing, and we find ourselves striving and struggling to get stuff done, instead of being in the present and really appreciating the moments of our lives. We may even do things when we're on autopilot that are harmful to ourselves or others. In contrast, when we are attentive on purpose, we start to live more consciously. We're more awake and more fully ourselves, and we notice the beauty of life. Engaging in the present moment. Mindfulness is also about engaging in the present moment, as the human mind habitually wanders away from it. When we are not in the here and now, we may dwell in the past, grasping and replaying it, or project into the future, trying to anticipate the unknown, and often catastrophizing. This doesn't mean we can't fondly remember something or plan for our futures, but when we obsess about the past or about the future in an effort to manipulate what we can't control, we place ourselves at greater risk for depression and anxiety. For example, have you ever gone over and over a certain experience in your head and continued to ask yourself, why did I say this instead of that? Or even, why did I let this happen in the first place? It's natural to want to go back in your mind so that you can somehow correct what happened. Yet it's hamster wheel thinking, because as much as you want to go back and change something, the reality is that you can't. Likewise, hanging out in the future is a way of trying to maintain perceived control over our lives, because the unknown is uncomfortable. The reality is, we really can't control the future, no matter how much we want to. There are things we can control, like how much we train for a race, or when we go to sleep, or what and how we eat. For the most part, though, beyond the little everyday lifestyle choices we can make, the future is out of our control. When mindful, we hone our clarity and focus as we attend to every sensation as it unfolds, engaged in the present moment experience. When we accept the present moment as it is, we let go of the tension caused by wanting things to have been or to be different. Noticing non-judgmentally. When practicing mindfulness, we're not trying to control, suppress, or stop our thoughts. We don't want to push our thoughts away. It's not even possible to do so. Rather, mindfulness helps us pay attention to our experiences as they arise, without judging or evaluating them in any way. This is the essence of mindfulness. When we cultivate a state of clarity in which we suspend judgment, we become witnesses of our present moment experience. Sure, there's temptation to judge that experience as good or bad, yet letting go of judgments helps us see things as they are, rather than through the filters of patterned and conditioned modes of thinking. This way, we are less likely to mechanically play out old habitual ways of thinking and living. So, in other words, mindfulness is 1. The state of consciously and deliberately noticing what we are attending to instead of remaining on autopilot, and 2. Doing so without attaching judgment. Boiled down, practicing mindfulness is a way to practice when and how we attend to the stimuli in our internal environments, thoughts, feelings, sensations, and external environments, interpersonal interactions, the physical world. Cultivating our attention allows us to stay present to each moment as it unfolds. Staying present, non-judgmentally, allows us to let go of negative rumination, which is a passive dwelling upon negative thoughts and emotions, a state nicknamed the wandering mind. In this way, mindfulness, the cultivation of attention on purpose, in the present moment and without judgment, becomes a tool to stave off chronic stress, anxiety, and depression, or all of the above. Of course, there is no way to keep our mind from wandering, and there is no such thing as completely clearing our minds. In fact, an important part of practicing mindfulness and creating a mindfulness state is to notice our wandering mind with compassion, loving-kindness, and non-judgment. Then we can practice using our attention to either bring our mind back to the present moment or continue following our wandering mind as a non-judgmental witness. The stories we tell. Each of us has a story we tell to make sense of ourselves in the world. Sometimes this story is told through filters we developed when we were very young and first trying to make sense of our external and internal worlds through the lenses of society and those around us. Sometimes we make unconscious agreements with ourselves that this must be who I am, and a story becomes a habit. Sometimes a story develops to protect us from trauma, and it works, until it doesn't. For example, you may create a story that separates you from your pain, which feels better in the moment, and many moments after that. But eventually, that same story starts to create more pain as you evolve, and realize that when you shut down, your ability to see your true self is clouded, and you have difficulty connecting with others. But here is the most amazing thing about a story. It's just a story. Are there certain stories you know you are telling yourself that aren't true and that don't serve you? If so, all I am going to ask is that you hold them without judging them. Of course, it's not always so easy to even know the story we are telling. That's where mindfulness practice can be of service. Mindfulness practice allows us to get in touch with this story. The story is often on autopilot, and it's not until we allow ourselves to notice our thought process, the feelings and sensations it elicits, that we become aware of it at all. Much of the time, our stories are self-protective, yet lead to suffering. When we catastrophize, our minds wander down a rabbit hole of negative what-ifs. While our brains are wired with a built-in protective mechanism, sometimes we overprotect. Our brains go from adaptive caring to a hypervigilance that leads to great suffering. In this space, we aren't trusting in the possibility of thriving. Here's the empowering part of this. You can train your brain to understand that even in the context of future-oriented thinking, it is much more likely that things will be okay, and, in fact, more than okay. That's where the work begins, and a journey of more adaptive, real, less filtered, less skewed storytelling can and will unfold. If you pay attention with compassion, anything is possible. This includes even the rewriting of stories that once worked for you to protect yourself, but now are perhaps blocking your way to a life lived on purpose. Mindfulness and the brain. World-renowned neuroscientist Richard Davidson proposes that we can actually train our brains to change, and that this change is measurable. Davidson is referring to the concept of neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to create new neural connections and form new pathways.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?